Hello everybody, today I want to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that homesteaders make. And it has to do with their animals. Now, most homesteaders have a huge variety of different kinds of animals. I was one of those. I had turkeys, ducks, geese, rabbits. I'm trying to think. Turkeys, ducks, geese, rabbits, pigs, cows, chickens, and I also had a tremendously huge grocery bill, or feed bill, not grocery bill, feed bill. And I had more animals than were necessary. Some of them weren't even my favorite kind of meat. I'm not a big turkey eater, but I had lots of turkeys. Not a big duck or goose eater, but I had lots of ducks and geese, and I can tell you, ducks and geese and turkeys can eat you out of house and home. Chickens are pretty big eaters, but they're not as bad as ducks, turkeys, or geese. And so I found that my feed bill was becoming more than anything else that practically I was spending money on. And that's what I think a big mistake is. As a homesteader, you have to look for the best ways to raise your food at the least expensive price or amount, and that's why I went with just chickens, because I found them to be less expensive, because I could sell the eggs, and actually my chickens, the meat became free meat and free eggs, and I was able to do that by selling the eggs. And so I got rid of everything else. Now, if you're a turkey lover and you love turkey meat, then go with turkey. Rabbits were okay. They weren't super expensive unless you're buying those big bags of Purina rabbit chow. Oh, yes, that can cost you a lot. But I fed mine hay, which wasn't too bad. But they're not what I call a dual purpose. And so I got rid of everything and went for the least expensive and more profitable to me and my family, and that is chickens. Like I said, this particular breed is Buff Orpington. They're great sitters. They've given me a lot of meat that's going to go in my freezer this year. As you can see, I've got several roosters here. Don't need that many roosters, but they were hatched out, and I've let them grow, and they're going to be going in our freezer as soon as our weather gets cold enough. And some of the younger hens, I may keep a couple of them, but I'm not going to keep all of them. They're going to be meat for my freezer, and it's free meat because I didn't pay for the feed, because I got my feed by selling the eggs. Now I'm going to show you my second source of meat and why I think it's the best way to do it. And one other thing I'd like to say, you do not have to raise your chickens until they're full grown. Those rock Cornish hens that I made, you can take your chickens and kill them at a very young age and have a whole lot of rock Cornish hens. So it might be something to consider. You put less feed into them, and if you're tight for space, it lets you put the animal into your deep freeze much quicker and still have some delicious meat on top of it. So you might want to go that route too, or a combination of the both. You might want to raise some for rock Cornish hens and others full grown. Okay, here we are. This is my second meat source. It's goats. Why? Because it gives me the most bang for my buck. Where are you going, girl? My boy, he's over there with his head sticking through. See him? He's trying to get to her. He's having a fit. But when you have goats, a lot of people, one of the questions they ask is, are goats gamey tasting? No, they are not. But when you have goats and they're pregnant, when you know they're a few months away from their delivery date, you separate them from the male. And any goat that you want to butcher and put into your freezer, you separate from the males also. Because if you do not, the meat will have a goaty taste. You do not want your male with any goat that you're going to butcher. Nor do you want your male with any goat that you're planning on milking. Now I separate them simply for the fact that it's safer. It's safer for the goat itself, you know, because they have a tendency to buck each other, hit each other in the head, and you don't want an accidental, you know, miscarriage on your goats. Now, when it comes to the cost of goats, if you've got some land where it's open and you can let them out. Now, goats are not what I call grazers. They're not grass eaters. They're weed eaters, briar eaters, thorny, bushy. They love it, but they're not really big on grass. But sheep are. So if you have a lot of property that has grass, sheep may be the thing you want. It just might be. She's hungry. We're getting ready to feed her. So let me move out of the way here so we can get her some food. Okay, this is my best goat right here. Her name is Bertha. She's on the milking stand. She's sniffing up in the air. She's pregnant, and she gives me anywhere between 3 and 4 little ones. So she's well worth her money. She really is. And she's a very good mother, and she gives me a lot of milk. So, as you can see her side sticking out there, she's very pregnant. And that's what I say. You have to think about culling animals that are just not worth it. Put them in your freezer. Don't keep something that is a lousy mother, won't take care of its young, and just overall poor performer. So you don't have to have pedigree goats. You don't have to have goats that have papers or any of that, because, you know, I call the mutts. They can produce just as good as the pedigrees can. And she has always given me twins, and now she gives me 4 babies at a time. And so, and she takes care of them. If she doesn't, last year she didn't. She had one she didn't take care of too well. But he was born with his feet doubled. And she had 4. And because of that, I think he was inside too tight and couldn't stretch his legs the way they were. But I tell you what, he in no time was up and walking. I just milked her and fed him from her milk with the bottle. And it wasn't long. He was up and walking and doing great. And she was feeding him and taking care of him. And so it worked out fine. But that's Bertha, my favorite one, because she's my best performer. This is another one of my goats. She's a smaller goat. She is a boar mix. And she's pregnant. And we separated her for that reason. But like I was saying, you have to keep your herd small. Very small. Well, if you have a lot of land, a whole lot of land, and it's not just grass, because goats will not be happy with just grass. They love bush, woody things, briars. They're not big grass eaters. So I happen to have land that's that way. It's not grass. And then I supplement them with some hay. And I usually sell the offspring to pay for that hay. But that takes careful looking around at prices of hay and selling your goats for the best dollar you can get, and really being active in your goats. Don't just run out and throw them some hay and say, okay, here you go, that's it, and I'm back in the house again. You have to be actively involved with your goats. But these are my 2 meat sources, and they're pretty, the goats are almost free. Not quite, but they're getting close to it. So, you know, we will have it to the point where they will be free. But right now, they're so inexpensive, it's not that big of a deal anymore because I've cut way back. So, the goats are meat, cheese, and milk. A 3-prong source, okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you've got far too many animals, maybe you should reconsider doing away with some and getting that feed bill down. And as always, God bless you and have a blessed day.